The last session that we had together, we went over all the supplies, and I went and told you how I cut my Wonder Under and how I use my Phillips head screwdriver to make my holes to put my hanging wire in. So today, as we're going over cutting the special shape and mounting our mirror, I will take you through putting the wire on one of the projects. So this is just our sample piece here. And I drew an oval. And yes, you don't see any rulers and you don't see any X-Acto kind of things that I use now when I'm working. This is just simple. So I didn't measure to make sure. I just drew a simple oval here. Almost looks like a giant jelly bean. It'll give you an idea. Our tile nippers come in really handy. And what you do is that you take it to where the end is, where your line, and then I just give a gentle tug. Watch it make a liar out of me. Oh, that's okay. So I'm going to nip away here a little so I can get a little closer. This is why we wear our protective glasses. See? There we go. I got a bit started. And it pulls away. This Wonder Under is concrete compatible. That's why I like using it. You could use plywood, but wood and concrete, they sing a different song. They do a different dance. It's all fine and well when it's nice weather, 70 degrees, 60 degrees, but once it starts getting higher than like 85 or like it is now, 95 degrees, or when it gets cold, like anything under 32, then that's when you start seeing the negative side of them not having the same song or dance. So I like the Wonder Under because it is compatible with the tile adhesive, the glue, and it's compatible with the grout, and it expands and contracts in the same, I don't know, same distance, same compatibility, I guess is the word I want to use. And that's why I like using the Wonder Under. Now, usually when I make shapes, the different shapes, I do have my tessera, or I make the grout cover up some of these rough areas. If you are a very particular person and this bothers you a little bit, you can take a sander, you can take a file, and you can smooth that out to your heart's content. But I'm not that type of person. This is just good enough for me. So that is how you draw your shape, and you nip gently your way into the shape, and then you just bit by bit nip away at your lines so that you can get the desired shape that you're looking for. I'm going to move this away, and I'm going to show you this is for our project, and I pre-scored it. Thought it would stay on so it would look like I did it, but I pre-scored it. See how it was? And it was a square. It was this circle was inside of a square. And at the corners, I took and I scored off the corners. Made sure I stayed on my lines. And then I took it over, just like in session number 1, took it over to the edge of the table, pressed down on it, and voila, off it went. And so now all I have to do instead of nipping my way through all of this wonder under, that's done, and I just have to nip away close to my edge there. So that's what we're going to do. Nip, nip, nip. This project really lends itself to listening to books on CD. My husband tells me I can't say tapes anymore because there's no such thing as tapes, books on. And probably soon I will have to say books on MP3 or whatever the new thing is. But it really makes all this quiet time go away. So now I have my wonderful circle, my substrate for to mount my mirror on. And I'm just going to do a little review with putting on the picture wire. This is 40-pound strength. I doubled it. And remember, I used the Phillips head screwdriver and I pounded with my hammer to make the holes. And you see where this is, where I doubled it, that's where I want to thread the other side on. And I try to make that as close, the other side, as close to the edge as I can, because I don't want the excess that I'm wrapping around in the center where it will be hung, because it will make your hanging system very difficult to keep it centered. So I try to keep it to the edge. You see, I'm wrapping it around so it doesn't slip, it doesn't shift, and that where I'm going to be placing my tessera and my mirror, I want it to be as flat as can be. And you want to make sure that it doesn't come up above when it hangs, and when it's pulled tight, that's where our nail is going to be. We don't want it to come above our substrate, our board. We don't want it to be seen, the wire to be seen when we hang it. Now, here's our nifty E6000. This is our mirror, which I already covered, and I'm going to take you through the square one, how to cover it. But I did this to save time. You do want to cover your mirror because you don't want it marred, even though we're going to be using grout that is unsanded. By the time we are putting on our tessera and that we are using the adhesives, you don't have to be too careful if it's covered, and it won't get scratched and you won't have frustration. I found that out the hard way. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to add the glue on. I already pre-measured where it's going to be, and now I'm going to let it sit. And as I let it sit, I'm going to put a weight on top of it, good old duct tape, something just to add some pressure down to make sure that there is a good seal with the glue and our mirror onto our substrate. I do that with any gluing project that I can. I either clamp it or I weigh it down to assure that I'm going to get a good seal and that in weeks or months or years, that isn't going to pop off. This is a good old basic square, rectangle, straight edge project here. There we go. And this is a piece of glass. Remember I was sharing that you could go to a hardware store or a glass cutting place that's all they specialize in is glass and mirror. And if you ask for the scraps that they are usually very happy to, I do recommend that you take your own container because sometimes they don't have containers there and they're at a loss. But if you have your own container, they'll just be happy so that they don't have to throw and worry about disposing these odds and ends. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my piece centered. And remember, I was telling you that the Wonder Under on one side has grids, 1-inch grid work, and that is very helpful for centering or placement at times. And for especially straight edge, straightforward things, projects like this with the mirror, it surely works. So as I put it down, take my marker and make my guidelines so I know where I'm going to be placing my mirror when I go to glue it and to put it down. Covering it up, it's so essential, believe me. Don't skip this step. My good old painter's tape. Be careful when you're putting it down, putting the tape down and adhering it, especially for these giveaways. If you get your mirror from one of the craft shops, they're going to have the edges buffed and sanded so that they're not razor sharp. But if you're getting it from the hardware store, please be careful because they're not sanded and the edges are razor sharp. So you want to make sure that you have respect for those edges. Don't be afraid of them, but be respectful of them and make sure that you keep your hands safe. One more edge. And now we're going to adhere some glue. And I just put a couple dots on my edges. And that will give you enough staying power. This is why I wear an apron, because I always want to do that. wipe anything on my clothes. And inside my guidelines, this goes. Doesn't matter what it is, just as long as it weighs it down. Voila. So, wow. Now, we're going to be ready in session 3. We are going to be playing around with the tessera and getting to start to see our project take shape and form. Wow, we did a lot of work. Thank you for joining me.